8 Good Minutes, episode 5. Welcome back. We're so glad to be with you. And we like to talk about things that not necessarily are our business, but things sort of around our business. And this week we're going to talk about coaching.
Yes.
We got two great folks to discuss this topic this week on the show. Mr. Jason Wagner.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Allison Wozniak, first two-timer here.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am feeling grateful.
Back by popular demand.
Yes, back by popular demand.
Your fans demanded it.
You know, got to give the fans what they want.
You're
right?
back. You're absolutely back. So we're going to talk a little bit about coaching. Coaching's an interesting thing in general, I think, and especially in businesses and organizations where, people want to be more successful, and that means they need to be open to feedback, to doing things differently. And I kind of wanted to throw out some things to both of you who are, I consider to be experts in this subject.
Thank
you. Get some of your sort of unfiltered feedback. You know, what we're doing here on 8 Good Minutes is we get right to the root of it. You like that, Wags?
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
I like that, Coach.
Yeah, there we go. So I think one of the first things that you have to do if you're going to coach somebody is you got to build some rapport with them, right?
Absolutely.
Because people don't typically like just strangers coming in and giving them coaching, or maybe they're not as open to it as they are with somebody that's built some rapport with them. Let's talk about the importance of that. Either one of you can start if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Rapport is a huge thing because when you're giving feedback, they have to feel comfortable. They have to feel warm. They have to feel like they can confide in you. And you can also confide in them. So gaining that respect, gaining that, kind of mutual care for one another is incredibly important.
Yeah, I agree.
I use the word diplomacy. You got to manage it. You got to know when you can push, when you need to soften up a little bit, because each situation requires something different.
That's a great point. It's a great
absolutely.
point. So I think that's number one. Number two, then, is being a great active listener, because nobody really wants to be talked at. They want to be talked with. And so, whenever you go into a coaching session, in my experience, or just do some quick on-the-spot coaching, there's usually some kind of response or feedback or whatever, and being open-minded to what they have to say, listening actively, and then sort of taking that into account with your next piece of feedback, I think goes a long way in the person that's being coached, feeling like, hey, this person's listening to what I'm saying. So I think the active listening part is way up there on things that are important that people miss a lot of times.
Way up there. And don't think about what you want your answer to be while they're talking. Listen to them first, then put your answer together. Then you're actively listening.
That sounded a lot like something that Professor, what is it again?
Professor Etiquette.
Professor Etiquette would tell me. Allison, anything to add?
Yeah, listening's huge. I mean, I think listening, whether that's in your personal life or in your professional life, is incredibly big. So I think Jason couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah. Asking effective questions.
Yes.
I think asking questions is a key part of coaching, because now you're bringing two people into it. The old traditional coach on the football field is just yelling at you, and then you got to do what they say. That doesn't really work in my experience in business. You know what I mean? You got to ask a lot of really good questions, and they have to be thoughtful.
Open-ended questions are the winners. When you ask a specific question that someone just says yes, you didn't learn anything. You can't coach just a yes. But if you ask an open-ended question and let them talk, you can learn what they're really thinking about.
I mean, I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. That's what I always try to do when I am in those coaching situations. Open-ended conversations always end up to a great conclusion.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm going to put you both on the spot a little bit here. So the feedback obviously needs to be constructive. And, I think constructive feedback is kind of a cliched term to some degree. Like, I'm just wondering how each of you, maybe individually, whoever can go first, what are the keys to constructive feedback? I mean, what, in your mind, when you want to, give somebody some feedback, and maybe it's not something they necessarily want to hear, how do you make it constructive? Because obviously feedback like you're doing great, everybody wants to hear that. So how do you hit them with something might be perceived as negative, but making it constructive? What are the keys?
Yeah, I have two, I like to say, two little tips for success when I give constructive feedback. I always start off the conversation, say, I have some feedback for you. Are you open to it? So it sets the tone for the conversation. They know that they're going to maybe potentially be hearing something that they don't want to hear.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that in my game, Ben. You got to write that down.
There you go. I also, I like to use this thing. It's called a compliment sandwich. So maybe you're doing great in XYZ, but we got to see you improve in XYZ. but I believe you can do it by doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And it always ends really, really well when I do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I like that. Jason, anything
I like to
good?
make sure that it's an open floor. So if I'm going to give some feedback, I want you to understand you can give me feedback too. So that'll open them up. That'll make them more comfortable in receiving it.
Love it. It's great. I'm going to give you guys real quickly. We okay on time? Yep. Okay. I want to give you my Dairy Queen coaching success story.
Ooh, I
this
love
is
it.
a good one. So it's a long time ago. I don't even know what year. I don't want to date myself too much. And I had really coached this person in my younger days hard, and probably not as polished as I aspire to be now. And this person ended up over time leaving the organization, and maybe in my mind not feeling great about our relationship based on the fact that I was trying to push this person to be better, all with great intent on my end, but maybe not with the greatest skills when I was younger. And it was 10 years later, I ran into this guy to Dairy Queen, and I saw him, and I immediately recognized him. And I wanted to walk up and say hi, but I had a little trepidation because I remembered that it wasn't, in my mind, maybe the best ending. And he turned and he saw me and he said, "Hey, Hall." And I said, "Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to see you." He goes, "I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, boy. Okay, where are we going with this?" And he came up to me and he said, "I just wanted you to know that you coached me so hard and it's really paid off for me." And I was like,
That's
wow.
awesome.
I mean, that was like my Dairy Queen. I was at the Dairy Queen. Ran into him at the Dairy Queen. And, you just never know how you're impacting somebody. And we got into a conversation. He had gotten into a different industry, but he had applied a few of the things that I showed him and then parlayed it into, his own thing. But that was like a super success story for me to run into somebody years later that I wasn't exactly sure how, they felt about me, I guess. And for them to kind of come up to me and tell me that was a good one. Anything that comes out, stands out with how you guys maybe like people to leave a coaching session and or any success stories you've got to share with the group?
Well, real quick, when I was thinking about the topic, I love to win. I love to be around winners. I love to be around people that have that same passion. So that's why I like coaching. It's why I like getting coaching feedback too. And I think other people should embrace that. If you like to win, you're going to learn more from other people. That's going to make you better.
I love that. That's a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to leave people feeling empowered. You never want to leave somebody walking out of a meeting feeling sad or like, how am I going to do this? Got to empower them. Kind of like you do. You want them to win. You want them to feel good. So leave them with all the good feels.
My one tip for that is that when you have maybe some feedback with the person, when the meeting ends, I always find that getting up and walking out of the room with them is like my show of support that I'm with you. We're going to make this better. Mm-hmm. I never like to, somebody stands up and leaves and I'm still, especially if I've given them some critical feedback, I want them to feel like that I'm going to support them and try and help them get better and that we're sort of in it together. And so I think walking out of the room with them, for me, is somewhat of a sign of that. I don't do it every time, but I try to do that one. That's a good one.
That's a
okay,
good one.
That's it. Ben's giving me a wrap.
Yeah.
How quickly does it go by?
Time flies when you're
Super
having
fast.
fun.
I mean, was the show everything you expected it to be?
Everything I
It
expected.
was.
Ready to do it again.
Met all your expectations. Allison, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For everybody at 8 Good Minutes, Ben, Katie, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.